Hi, I'm Mel from Wake Nutrition and I practice non-diet nutrition. Now, non-diet is a growing movement coming from all corners of the world, from nutrition health professionals that recognise that science is saying that diets do more harm than good. So through non-diet nutrition, often we're teaching about health at every size. We teach a lot about body respect, and we also use tools such as intuitive eating. Now, I hear with intuitive eating that some people might suggest that it's a free-for-all, that it's just an excuse to eat anything, because if you let go of dieting, you let go of the rules and control that we have over food that tells you you should only have so much of that, you shouldn't eat that, that's good, that's bad, that's naughty, that's clean. And a lot of this very emotive language, which creates a real disconnect with our body. So rather than in intuitive eating, rather than relying on rules and strict regimes that we have to follow, which most people can't in the long term, what I'm teaching you is to dial back into your body to be able to listen and interpret the navigation system that we already have within us that tells us what we might be feeling like we want to eat. What do we need to nourish our body? What does our body want? How do we know when we're truly physically hungry and being able to distinguish that from being emotionally hungry because we're stressed, tired, or hormonal? How do we recognise sort of what we call emerging fullness, so we don't get to a point where we feel we're busting a gut and having to undo our waistband and then feeling really horrible about it? It also, intuitive eating brings in how we bring in exercise and self-care into our whole health regime. So it's really interesting now that science shows that if we don't sort of idolize food, that if we don't put it on a pedestal and say that's off limits, which tends to make us want it more and obsess about it more, and that can lead to sort of more of the binge eating cycles. If we have a much more neutral view of food, it becomes something that we're less fearful of, that we can manage it, and not so much that it loses the excitement value. But if you imagine that if you went out to a gorgeous restaurant every day of the week for a year, the novelty would wear off, wouldn't it? There wouldn't be that strong desire that you've got to have that beautiful food, the 3-course meal, get all the value out of it and stuff your belly until you're done. So intuitive eating means that you learn to realise that, maybe you don't feel like the chocolate, maybe you want something else instead, maybe you want something that's salty or crunchy, and you may choose a different food instead that actually is going to hit that satisfaction button. You'll realise that actually you've had enough before you've cleared your plate. So it's by giving yourself permission to have all sorts of different foods based on what you need and want, that you actually, ironically, gain a much better, I say control in a loose term, but you're eating much more appropriately to meet your body's needs. So it can be a really very different way of eating and a very different concept to get your head around. But generally, intuitive eating doesn't mean that you give yourself the free-for-all. There's a bit of experimentation going on, but for me, I practice this all the time, and people quite often comment to me and go, oh, look, you're having cake, or you have sugar in your coffee. Yeah, I do. I allow myself to have whatever food I really want, and it means that I don't go overboard on it. It's absolutely fascinating. So if you'd like to learn more about intuitive eating, then drop me a message. Okay, speak to you soon. See you next time. Bye.